Hey guys, welcome back to my show. In today's episode, we have a really special guest with us today. His name is Erik Slangerup. Hi Erik, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Anika. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. So please introduce yourself and give a brief synopsis of your latest book.
Okay, happy to. I'm Erik Slangerup, and I was born in California. I think that's where you are, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but I've lived in Ohio for the last 20 plus years, and been a writer there for a long time. And my book, my first middle grade novel, Molly and the Machine, is actually set in Ohio. It's a 1980s sci-fi action adventure with a young girl in southern Ohio that finds herself in a situation where she has to be the hero. She has to rescue her younger brother. I liked the idea of a girl rescuing a boy. I've got 2 sons and 4 daughters, and I was one of 4 boys myself. So I started out life in a very kind of boy-oriented world with a lot of those narratives about what it's like to be a boy and what boys should do to be brave or heroic. And so my first 2 kids were boys, and then after that I had 4 girls. So I really got exposed kind of all at once to how a lot of those narratives apply just as well to girls as they do to boys, and I was excited to put that into a story.
That's awesome. So everyone who's listening to this episode right now, Molly and the Machine is available in stores right now, in your local bookstore, in the libraries, wherever you read your books. And I would definitely suggest you guys check it out if you love adventure and sci-fi. Also, the new book, the sequel to Molly and the Mutants, will be out on June 20th, 2023, so be sure to check that out as well. Anyways, on to the next question I have for you. What's your thought process for books like Molly and the Machine? Like, what really inspired or got you into writing books like Molly and the Machine? I know that you said that it's because you want to show more more girl characters who are going on missions, saving people and things, but what really got you thinking in this direction?
Oh, that's a good question. If I had to boil it down to one word, it'd probably be adventure. I consider myself an adventure writer. It's hard for me to write something where things aren't happening, and I wanted it to be reflective. Like, I wanted a story out there that's more reflective of the time that I was that age, when I was a kid, when I was a middle grade kid. I'm a Gen Xer, so my experience was going outside and making my own fun out in the world until it was dark, and then I would come home. And that's been a different experience than I see generations after me, about just kind of roaming around free, unstructured time, not having any kind of parental supervision. It was just kind of a different time. And in some ways I joked that it was like a more dangerous time. Like, I didn't have giant robots to contend with, but I was just kind of out, left to my own devices for long stretches. And those are some of the most meaningful memories that I've got now. And I wanted to have more of that kind of experience in the writing. It would have been more difficult for me to make a contemporary book, I think, with kids having cell phones in their pockets. Changes the plot points of a book. If you have GPS and a communication device and you can find any answer you need, it really changes how characters act within a certain situation. And I wanted to remove a lot of those, and to do that I had to get back to 1983 when I was a kid myself. So the time really inspired me, and I had no idea when I started it that the 80s would be trending. When the book came out this last year, it's when the new season of Stranger Things came out. So people couldn't help but drawing comparisons, saying, oh, kids on bikes out in the Midwest with all kinds of weird things happening in the woods. Oh, did you get inspired by Stranger Things? And I thought, no, I started it long before Stranger Things. But it's funny how things like that are kind of in a place I call the creative ether. People start thinking about that, putting together the same disparate elements and combining them in ways that all seem to come out around the same time. So I'm happy that the 80s have been inspiring other creators as well to kind of capture that moment, because it was something that was, meant a lot to me.
Definitely. I like how you went fully into detail, because I feel like just getting inspiration from your own world or your own life, it's like a vital part of being an author or writer, because basically whatever you do could potentially be a great storyline for future books. Like there are books like maybe Stranger Things possibly could have been like a fictionalized version of the producer's life, maybe, or one of the cast members' life. It could be something out of the ordinary. It could be like a dream. It could be basically anything. So I feel like showing comparisons, the fact that readers and parents and people are comparing your book to Stranger Things long before your book was created, or like long after it was created, and thinking that it's based off Stranger Things, shows that your book can be compared to big arcs like that, because it's like around like focusing around the same ideas, like kids on bicycles going on journeys, finding strange things, which is probably why they named the show Strange Things, but let's not get onto that. My next question for you is, I noticed I did some research on you and found out that you were on Good Day Columbus. So how was the experience being on the show?
Oh, they were great. Columbus feels like home to me now. I've been here for many years, and Columbus as a creative community is very supportive of its artists. I've always felt like in the media, there's a lot of local television shows and magazines, every kind of media channel, I think, in this area, I found has been super supportive of the arts in a way that I haven't seen in the same way in other towns that I've lived. And sometimes you only associate that with larger cities. I was born in the Bay Area, right near San Francisco, and there's a great art community there. And I've been on both coasts, so you think about like a really diverse and dense art community in some of those larger cities, but right here in Columbus, in the middle of all these cornfields, there's a fantastic artistic community of writers and artists and designers. And I found that Good Day Columbus, as well as a lot of other media players, have just been really generous with their time, like taking time to find out more about what's behind your art, how they can be supportive of your art. So those guys were great. That was a pleasure to get that, to have that interview, and lots of others too.
That sounds awesome. So when I was listening to that clip of you guys talking, I was wondering that how did you get this opportunity? Was it because your book was a debut? How did they find you?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. Well, it was because the story is, I'll try and make this story brief. Molly and the Machine is an adaptation I had of a much, much, much shorter story that appeared in a Storytime app I created called Story Snacker a few years ago. And that, when Story Snacker was up for a Webby Award, as I mentioned, Columbus is very supportive of its arts community. So they put me on their show to try and promote the People's Choice vote to get more votes for my app, because I was up against some big players. I was up in that category. I was up against PBS and Random House and Nickelodeon and all these other like bigger players who had created also Storytime apps that are really great. But I was feeling very confident about our app. We got close. We didn't quite get first place, but we did get a lot of exposure from that experience. And then after that, because one of the stories was called If a Robot Eats Your Brother, and it was a 1-minute story. And later I was so intrigued with that premise, I decided to try a much longer version. The original story in the app is 160 words. The novel is, I think, in excess of 60,000 words, so much longer. But that's where it came from, and that was the connection. So I think they were I think they had that on their radar from the time that the app came out a couple years before.
That's awesome. So anyone out there who has a big dream of appearing on television, you guys gotta work hard. Figure out what you love doing. If it's writing, maybe figure out what you can do using that. Or in my case, I love writing and singing, so I could mash them up together with songwriting. Or things like that. Basically, just get yourself noticed, do amazing things. You do not have to post it on particular places. Just like do your thing, and slowly people are going to start approaching you and trying to figure out how to get you on local media. I would also suggest that if you want to start in schools, I know they have journalism in high school. They have Tribune stuff in middle school, and in elementary school I believe they have like letter writing and things like that. I would say try out those things, see how you do in journalism, because I think journalism is like, if you love writing, then I feel like journalism would not be too hard for you, just because it would be the base level for actually somehow ending up on a local TV show or local news or any of those widescreen coverages of news. So anyways, on to my last and final question. What's your favorite writing snack?
Snack? Oh, I have so many.
Yeah, like a snack you love munching on while working on your writing, editing, or just outlining. Basically anything part of your writing process.
Well, I could give you several answers depending on the time of day, but after lunch, like mid-afternoon, is usually when I have my second cup of coffee, and with that I have an undisclosed number of ginger snap cookies. Ginger snaps are good. They're small and they're crispy, and they have just the right kind of kick to them that to keep me just to keep my brain firing. So those work really well. If I get done with those, I'll go on to some dark chocolate covered almonds, which also have just the right balance of sweet and some energy to them, so they can just keep me they keep my mind working and thinking, and I can keep munching on them without knowing exactly how much I've eaten.
That sounds awesome. So anyways guys, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much, Erik, for being on the show with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so inspired by your passion for the craft. I just appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So anyways guys, that's the end of the episode. I hope you all enjoyed and have been taking notes like how you've been doing in the past. Erik's book, as I said earlier, is already out. You can be sure to check that out once you finish this episode or whenever you get time. The sequel to the book Molly and the Mutants, well, the book sequel is called Molly and the Mutants, and that will be out on June 20th, 2023. Feel free to check that out as well whenever it's released, which is this summer. Also, in upcoming news, on January 23rd, I'm interviewing singer-songwriter Sophie Prakasi. Now, on that, the time I'm interviewing her is 5 p.m. So be sure to check that out as well on 23rd Jan at 5 p.m. Pacific. See you guys then. Bye guys.